I'll be the first to admit I may have bitten off more than I can chew when I decided on the first giveaway vehicle. A fully built body drop show van may not have been the most sensible option, but we're finally getting through it and most of the boring stuff is done, which leads us to today, where we're going to fit the hydros. Oh wait. It's actually going on bags now, but I will get to the reasoning for that in a minute. First, we're going to take a look at what's been done since the last video. We obviously welded in both side steps, all the strengtheners and stuff in the back. Now I lifted it up before I started this clip, so you can't really see it now, but there it is up there somewhere. The strengtheners. Now, underneath is where some stuff has happened. We have got a new front cross member in, which is then joined into the old chassis, which has all been welded up there. And the radius rods. Now, these are normally hanging on a massive, horrible cross member, which goes up here, which obviously hits the floor and is no bueno. So, replaced with this bit of box, these rose joints, that is the pivot point for the old rubber bushes. So these have been shortened, but only where that threads, there we go, where that threads on. So we now have the radius rods joined back up, and that stops the wheel that way, and the steering is all in also. That is now side to side and backwards and forwards, I think, kind of done. So it's down to suspension. So let's get into that. Now, when it comes to bagging these, there's two main things you've got to do: the front and the rear. Because if you do one and not the other, that looks stupid. So we're going to start with the rear, and I'm going to give you a little step by step on how to do this. When it comes to the rear of these, they're actually pretty simple to bag. Now, it's actually probably harder to lower and weld with springs. So, these rubbers, normally up here, they can go in the bin. This rubber, don't need that. Now, next up, these two nubbins that hold the springs you want to cut off. Now, this one's standard. This one has actually already been cut down. So, I'm going to chop those off and move on to stage 2. Now, I've obviously chopped them off, top and bottom, cleaned them up. Now, on the other side, I've also done it, and bottom plate, exactly the same as the other side. Now, the top, you'll see there's some holes. I made this up years ago, and for some reason I hung on to it. It's just the hole spacings for the rear T25, so that slots in there and up there, and then your bag bolts straight to that on the top. So you've got the 2 bolt holes, and that's where your fitting goes, and then you run your airline safely around the back. Now, for the bottoms, what we have to do is we take one of these plates, weld a bolt through it, and weld it to the arm. Now, there's probably loads of ways to do this. This is the way I do it. But everyone does things different. This is the way I do it, so I'll show you that now. Now, as if by magic, we have this. Now, one thing I will say is you always want to screw this on to the bag before you put it in the hole, because you want to clock that in relation to these. So that's going in that way. So you want, when this is done up tight, you want it to be in the right place on the arm. So I'll always put that on and go, right, that's that way, so I'll draw a line there, and I know that lines up on the arm. But I'll quickly weld this on the bottom of the arm and show you the finished product, and that's how you bag the rear of a T25. Now I need to put some paint on there, and I need to put the fitting in, but the fittings won't come until tomorrow, so I'll do that then. I also need to measure up for shocks, because they're ever so slightly too long, I think. Now this might not be the end of the bag in the rear for this van, because I need to potentially raise that whole top perch by about 1 inch. But I didn't want to try it until the bags are mounted. Wheels are on, and I'll drop it down, because if I don't need to do it, then obviously I won't do it. Because if you raise that and you don't need to, you'll then run a higher pressure. Obviously lower pressure, more comfortable. Anyway, that is the rear done. Now, one little thing to show you, and then I think it will probably end up being tomorrow, and we'll get on with the front, which is a lot more involved. I thought I'd just show you that quickly, because that is actually now going. So the last video was actually the last video. We'll just get a nice sunset shot of that and say goodbye. And if you have any questions about the rear bags, just ask them in the comments now, and I don't mind getting back to you. It's actually a couple of days later now, and a quick little bit of housekeeping before we bag the front. Dad's pickup is no longer in here, so we finished up that. I don't know if I was talking about the issue we had with the clutch, but basically the clutch was dead. So put a clutch in it and had a successful test drive. So that is now gone. Terry's van's back. I can't even remember why. Chris might tell you at some point. And now we are on to bagging the front of the van. So to do that, we are going to use these parts and we are going to weld them together so they end up something like this. Now, they're all offset, so it will become more apparent in it. It's not going to work now. So this tube isn't in the middle of that plate. That is over to one side, and the same with this one. The reason will become clear in a moment. So next thing you need to do on the van is cut this top off. So, ta-da! Now, I've done these bolt-in before, and I do still have the plasma cutter drawings and pictures and stuff. So if you are trying to bag one of these yourself and you really want to go down that route, then I can send you them pictures and cut the plates for you. But this is all getting welded in because this isn't going back to standard ever, because it's got a big old body drop. So this top bag plate will go in here, up into there, and you weld around the top. Now that also means you can run your airlines out the top and get to your bolts. So I'll weld that in now, and through the power of editing, ka-chow! That is now welded in. Now, as you can see, bolts are fitting through there, and then the plate is below. Now, the reason that's spaced down is, one, so you run better pressures, and two, it actually clears the bag away from a lot of the sort of, it's not going to focus, there you go, the strengtheners and things underneath. Now, as I say, if you want, you know, I can't obviously tell everyone how to do it step by step all the time, but if you really are genuinely wanting to do it, send me a message and I'll try and help you as much as I can. Next on the list is sorting out the bottom bracket, because that's not done yet. Now, to finish this one, what I need to do is drill a hole and a hole so it bolts in to the bottom arm where the original shock used to bolt, and then give it a little clean up. That's hot. Give it a little clean up, and then we'll bolt the bag in. Then we get to see the van on the floor, which is what we're all here for. Now, it also might seem like I'm rushing through this stuff, but you've all seen me cut and weld stuff before, so I don't want to make it too boring. So I'm just trying to show you the main key points of the bags, rather than here I am cutting this, or here I am welding this. So here I am drilling a hole. No, I'm only joking, but I am trying to get through this without making it too boring. So I'm going to drill those holes, and then we are going to bolt that bag on and sit it on the floor. Elephant in the room, there is no shocks on the front. Now, I haven't ordered the shocks yet, that's why they're not on there. But when they are fitted, I'll quickly cover that in whatever video that might be at the time. Because we need to get on with this and get it going. So, before we sit this on the floor, just a quick recap. Done all the cross member, rose joints, etc., etc., etc. Front bags are in, but no shocks yet. Steering is done. Rear bags the same. So rear bags, plate on the bottom, drill the top. Simple as that. Shocks, I need ever so slightly shorter ones, I think. We may need to raise up the spring mount also, but we'll find that out in a minute. So what we're going to do now is pop the wheels back on, and I have rigged up loads of random airlines together to get enough to put a Schrader valve on, so we can take this off the ramp for the first time and air it out, see what happens. I'm quite excited. Now, this I'm going to do in real time. You might hear some air. That's not actually an airbag, that's a tyre that we somehow popped. I still don't really know how we've done that. But yes, I'm just dropping it down. It's on a space over this side because you have to save space. But this side has the wheels on. So, I'm going to do a little bit of jiggery and then hopefully roll it off the ramp. Right, it is up under its own steam, its own air. But the super tyre's gone flat again, so I'll post that up and then I'm going to roll the van forward and get the full angled shot of it airing out for the first time, which is exciting. But I'll have to open that door because I haven't tubbed that door yet and it won't drop down if not. This plan would have been better if I knew where the middle of the I've gone too far. How about that? Now, I'll move the camera like a normal person. Right, are we ready for this? First airing out of the giveaway van. Hopefully it works. I might have to open that door as well. Here we go. Oh. I forgot to cut the jack points off, so it's sat on them. So I'll cut them off quickly and then we'll have a look at it. Right, jack and points are off and it is firmly on the floor at the front. Now, there is a slight issue, which I mentioned earlier in the video, but now I know for sure. So these never sit completely flat on the floor, they always have a little bit of rake, but this has about probably 10mm more than normal, and that tyre's flat, which says to me when I pump that tyre up it's going to be too high, so I'm going to have to raise the rear spring mounts. Now luckily for me I've got to cut these rear quarters off, so it literally I can get into everything because that spring mount's about here, so I've got to cut this whole panel off. So that's actually quite an easy job, and that brings me to what next week's video is going to be, which will be rear quarters. I also have, there's a lot going on here, and I have another van at home that has that whole set, so I might actually put that whole section in out of the other van. This rear quarter, look at that dead wheel, and more exciting than that is tubs. So we're going to have to make all new front tubs, join all that metalwork back in. Basically, all of the metalwork wants to be finished by the end of next week, so then we can paint. Now I don't think we'll paint in that video, because I don't know if I have enough time, but I might have enough time, we'll see. And then it's engine in, MOT, give it to one of you. I ain't got any exciting new clothes or anything out, there's a few bits on there, thanks to everyone who bought the stuff from last week. So I'm not going to say go and buy anything, because I don't know if there's anything worth buying, but if you want to, code YouTube, have a look on there. Obviously like and subscribe, and I am now going to go and start cutting these off, but you'll see that next week. So, thanks for watching. Just look at it.